She fell head over heels.
He swept her off her feet.
But soon she would discover that behind his charm was a devil in disguise.
She knew she was going to die. If she didn't leave at that moment, she was going to be killed.
This is Alexis Moore's story, when true love turns terrifying.
I'm trying to get away from him, and he knocked me cold. I knew at that moment in time I needed to get the hell out of there.
Alexis Moore grows up happy in Redmond, Washington, a suburban town just outside of Seattle.
I was a free-spirited kid. I used to babysit a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and I would say I was a very typical young little kid, young little girl.
She is my closest friend, and we've built a great friendship.
When Alexis is 22, she takes a job as an assistant for an insurance title company.
I enjoyed my job right off the bat, and I saw that there was a future, so it was exciting.
One day, she meets 28-year-old Ben Streb, a private investigator for a debt collection agency.
He was a good-looking guy, very articulate, confident, pretty much a guy you would take home to mom.
Before long, a romance blossoms between the two.
It was a relatively fast relationship. They got together very quickly. He swept her off her feet.
Yellow roses and buying me dinners and lunch and taking me shopping. I mean, he was very, very loving and very, very supportive, very kind.
He was charismatic, and she fell in love with him.
I thought I was with the right guy.
Within a year, Alexis and Ben move in together. Soon after, Ben starts his own private investigation company. The business is an immediate success.
There wasn't a case he couldn't find somebody or an asset if there was one to be found. There is nobody as good as him.
But within just a few months, Alexis witnesses a sudden and dramatic change in his behavior.
He was just very controlling and very manipulative, telling me what I had to do and when I could do it. And I noticed if I dare say anything, it would be, you know, you can't do that and you listen to me. It got emotionally abusive. You're stupid, you're fat, you're ugly. You'll never go anywhere without me.
Before long, Ben demands Alexis stop working. He even limits where she goes and who she sees.
I fear that he's gonna want to dominate her more and more and dominate more aspects of her life.
What is going on? What's happening to this guy? You know, he's turning into some monster that I didn't even know existed.
As time goes by, Ben's controlling behavior worsens, and his verbal violence turns physical.
There was one episode where he had taken his hand and put it up to my neck and pushed me against the wall and told me, I will kill you if you don't shut the F up.
Alexis immediately calls a domestic violence hotline. They notify the police.
The police came. He was able to talk his way out, saying it was just a dispute, it was just a family matter.
You know, between us, everything's fine though, really, I mean.
But the second they leave, he's gonna be twice as mad as he was to begin with.
And the cops left, and I realized then, wow, I'm in big trouble here.
Call the cops on me? You joking?
He took the telephone, ripped it off the wall, and wrapped the telephone cord around my neck.
We see what happens again.
And told me, you call them, you done ever again, you're really gonna find out what happens.
Alexis is terrified, but she's even more afraid to leave.
He's a controlling and dominating person. He thinks he owns her. She's more like a possession to him than an...
Alexis continues to live with Ben for a year and a half.
She felt tormented, emotionally devastated.
Finally, Alexis works up the courage to leave him. In November of 2004, she tells him that it's over. But Ben refuses to let her go. He begins to hit Alexis. Nothing she says will make him stop.
I said to myself, man, I could die here. I'm gonna die if I stay. I'm running and trying to get away from him, and he knocked me cold. I just remember being hit. I don't know what else happened.
Alexis comes to in a pool of blood on the living room floor. In a daze, she overhears Ben talking on the phone.
To this day, I don't know who he was calling. But I woke to hear, I think I killed her, you need to come over.
But Alexis's survival instincts kick in, and she seizes the opportunity to escape.
I knew at that moment in time I needed to get the hell out of there.
If she didn't leave at that moment, she was going to be killed. She got the courage to stand up and run out of the house.
Ben is right behind her.
I was able to get in my car, and with him chasing me and with his hand around my neck, reaching through the door, and I just kept fighting it, just trying to get him off of me. I was able to back my car out of the garage, and I told him, you will never see me again. You will never see me.
But Ben won't give up that easily.
I was the prey, and he was the predator, and he had every tool in the world available to him to track me down. I had only the clothes on my back and the purse I was able to carry. I had nothing else.
Alexis is desperate to get away. Alexis has to think fast. She leaves her car at the train station in hopes of throwing Ben off her trail. Then she runs across town to her estranged sister's house.
In Ben's mind, that wasn't for sure a place that I would turn to for help. My sister and I had a kind of an on and off relationship at this time, so I went into hiding at their home.
But all too soon, the phone rings.
Hello?
It's Ben.
Hello?
He has found her and is threatening not only Alexis, but her sister's 2 young children.
They're scared now.
My sister and brother-in-law, they really don't want me staying with them. I am disrupting their home. Everyone's living in fear.
Alexis's sister reluctantly asks her to leave.
So I'm couch surfing. I'm basically going from one family member's house to another. I was homeless.
With nowhere else to turn, Alexis moves in with her mother. But it isn't long before Ben tracks her down there as well.
The phone's ringing off the hook. It's him calling from payphones, cell phone.
Alexis Moore is being stalked by her abusive ex-boyfriend, Ben. Ben is a high-tech private investigator by trade. And now there's nothing Alexis can do to stop him from systematically destroying her life.
It just seemed like every move I took, it was another move that Ben was taking ahead of me. He was always one step ahead.
Soon, Ben is driving by her mother's home several times a day.
I was living on no sleep. I'm sleeping in my clothes, all dressed with my tennis shoes on, ready at any minute to leave and flee.
Then one day, Ben changes tactics. He calls and threatens Alexis's mother while she's out running errands.
Her cell phone rang, and it was Ben saying, I see you, and he described where she was, what she was wearing.
Alexis's mother is shaken. Alexis feels terrible for bringing this on her family.
Alexis struggled to keep her relationships with her friends and family going because everyone felt at risk being around her.
I was endangering their lives, putting my family at risk, and this is very dangerous.
Alexis is desperate and goes to the police. She is able to get a restraining order, which states that Ben cannot contact or go near either Alexis or her family. But it doesn't stop him. Alexis reports each violation of the order. But unfortunately, there isn't enough evidence to arrest Ben.
Stalking cases can be so hard to prove because a lot is he said, she said. A restraining order is a piece of paper, and that's all it is. It's not a shield. Victims still need to take all of the precautions that they can, even if they do obtain a restraining order. It's very crucial to keep records, keep a diary, keep a log, keep all evidence, all emails. If you can record all the phone calls, all voicemails, messages left, anything that you can think of, keep all that information because that's evidence. And every little piece helps us in law enforcement build a case.
It is very difficult to get help. Unfortunately, stalking is the invisible crime. There are no injuries, there are no assaults. You can't prove it.
Despite the turmoil, In March of 2005, Alexis manages to land a job with an insurance company.
I have no money, so finding a job was very, very important. Felt things were finally turning, and it was getting better.
But in only a matter of days, Ben finds out where she's working.
My phone rang, and he said, "I know where you work. I see you carrying the blue file folders, or I see what you're wearing." And then the phone rang off the hook.
He would make phone calls to not only her, but to coworkers, and people were getting upset.
All of a sudden, I had that bullseye on my face where I was the one that was causing all this problem. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job.
It was very similar to being hunted like an animal because there was no escaping this man. She could not escape him.
And it seems Ben would soon get his way. In May, less than 3 months after starting the job, Alexis is fired.
He said, "I knew I'd get you fired," and I did. He wrote that in an email.
She's up against a professional stalker. He has now completely destroyed her social world. He's crippling her financially.
Although Alexis has taken out a restraining order on Ben, it takes a year of her reporting incidents before he's finally arrested. But to Alexis's dismay, due to a lack of evidence, Ben is released within hours.
There's no other description except to say let down, frustrated. My heart sank, and it was also a sense of defeat. It was another notch in Ben's belt and another devastating blow for me.
She felt abandoned, and she was alone.
At her wit's end, Alexis wonders what more Ben could possibly do to ruin her life. And all too soon, she finds out.
I was at the gas station, and I go to slide a credit card through to get gas. And it says declined. Try another card. Declined. Now I try my ATM card. Oh, there's got to be money. I know there's money there.
But there really isn't any money. Alexis suddenly realizes that Ben has somehow closed her credit cards and emptied her checking account of every last dollar.
He was sending in letters that had my name, my date of birth, my address, my account number, my social security number, saying he was me. And so these were the beginnings of what's known today as cyber stalking. Taking technology, faxing, calling by phone and requesting a change of address and to close my accounts or to electronically debit from my bank account and such. This is all of the tools he was using. What am I going to do? I went home on fumes with tears coming down. My entire life is unfolding before my eyes. He had this wherewithal to know how to, manipulate the systems. There was no stopping him.
He knows how to locate, access funds. This is his job.
At the bottom of the barrel, Alexis has no choice but to file for bankruptcy. Not only has Ben managed to strip her of everything, he's been able to do so without getting caught by police.
You lose another bit of your life, bit of your freedom, and that's exactly what this was about, controlling me.
Alexis was struggling. She was struggling to survive. He was ruining her entire life. She hit rock bottom.
By 2006, Ben's relentless stalking has left Alexis Moore without a job, without a home, bankrupt, and with damaged relationships.
It was completely taxing for Alexis.
My whole life is turning upside down. I'm sleeping with one eye open, fearing for my life at every single moment of the day. The trauma that I was facing day in and day out during this time frame there's no words to describe.
Desperate to make money, Alexis gets a real estate license and is fortunate to land a job as an agent 40 miles away from where she's living in Redmond, Washington. One day, a potential buyer requests to view one of the company's highest priced listings.
Someone wanted me to go show property, rural property. And I said to myself, wow, that would be great. The commission's going to be really, really excellent, and this will help me get my life back. When a little voice in the back of my head comes out, and it's saying, Alexis, this doesn't sound right. I'm a new agent. I'm now trying to drive out to allegedly meet this client. Why me? Why me in this potential $1 million sale? It doesn't even make sense.
Alexis feels increasingly paranoid. Who is this client? Just to be cautious, she stops the car and calls the real estate office. Alexis asks her manager to describe the man who wants her to show the home. The description matches Ben to a T.
I turned my car, nearly fishtailing it. I was shaking at this point, and drove home as fast as I could, knowing that Ben could have been waiting for me right then and there to kill me or do whatever.
Ben has gone to great lengths to pose as a potential client in order to get her a loan. Alexis is petrified.
She was in danger. She was in fear of her life.
I'm glad her antenna went up. I think he might have been trying to kill her.
For Alexis, the incident is a turning point. As long as Ben is alive, she will never be safe. Now, she realizes that she must take matters into her own hands.
She had no other choice but to advocate for herself and to protect herself.
I was a sitting duck because I didn't know where he was. I didn't know if he had a weapon, and I was scared to death. And so at that point in time, it started to change my mindset about what I needed to do for protection. Not everyone is going to be in a position like I am where they feel that their life daily is in danger. However, if you feel any threat at all, it's better to be safe, as I always say, rather than sorry. So I chose to get the training for what's called a concealed carry weapon permit.
Alexis gets a .38 caliber revolver. She also begins training with a self-defense and firearms expert so that she is skilled enough to fight off any attacker.
I needed to learn every single thing I could about self-defense and firearms so that I could, if the situation presented itself, take care of myself.
In October 2009, Alexis is at home when she sees Ben's car driving by. But she refuses to live in constant fear any longer. This time, she's ready for him.
I caught his eye in the driver's seat, and I said to myself, oh God, here he is again. But this time it was different. It was disgust. Like, oh God, here he is. And it wasn't panic. I ran and I got my weapon. It was loaded, and I was ready to go.
Ben sees the weapon Alexis has in her hand. For the first time, he actually backs off and drives away. Each time he returns, she lets him know she's armed. His visits become less frequent, and after a while, they stop. While the solution Alexis chose is risky and might not be right for everyone, she believes it turned the tide in her case.
Alexis was faced with the choice of life or death, and she chose life. She was formulating her own safety plans because the resources were not coming through for her.
It's empowering once you take control. Taking my life back was that pivotal point.
She is a survivor. She is a fighter.
Alexis does what she has to do to be safe. She has more confidence that she's not going to be killed before she wakes up in the morning.
Alexis is a very strong woman, and if she wasn't a strong woman, she would not be alive today.
Although he's out of her life for now, Alexis knows there's always a possibility he might return.
It's been relatively quiet, but again, this could change overnight.